Good evening. I'd like to call this special meeting to order at 7 p.m. on July 12, 2022. We'll stay seated for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, is there any correspondence?
No.
So item 5 is the business for which the meeting was called, and it's the municipal amenities use agreement. So we have 3 parts. We have the draft municipal amenities booking information, the rental terms and condition, and the usage agreement. So can we start with the booking information? Questions from council? Councilor,
Was this, did you look up other like municipalities? Is that kind of how you modeled yours?
We didn't for this booking information. Some of the information we took from agreements that we used. And, but this was just general information that we felt captured as many scenarios that we could.
Councilor Buckle.
Just an operational suggestion. For weekend use, instead of them having to come pick up the key on Friday, I would take down the deposit. I had it found on one of the little keypad or key locks or key boxes secured there, because then staff member could actually just drop off. So I need to just take the combination. So that might be easier than, you know, signing up all the staff from the office. They can do that all the way home. Just might be a little simpler.
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah. Just a question, has there been any requests so far this year before we have this, that people want a basketball court or volleyball court?
Not I'm aware of. We haven't received any requests in the office.
It certainly could become a concern, especially once we expand our facilities at one sufficient.
So yes, so the pavilion is done.
Right.
Yes, so I'm sure once that facility is complete, more of our residents and guests will want to use it.
Councilor Bird?
Is the ball diamond ever rented out this year? Was there any use for that?
I don't know, but
It was rented out once for a practice.
Councilor Richardson.
Should we include that somewhere? Also, like the ball diamond in this agreement? Or not?
It has its own rental agreement.
I'm just wondering though, like if it should also be included in here, just because it says municipal amenity booking information. Like,
Consolidated, yeah.
right, I'm just thinking what else we rent.
We put it, it does have a separate agreement, but we definitely could include it as general information.
Councilor Buckland.
Just on that line, I have six, it's not on for tonight, but moving forward, maybe, they say, all of those agreements should formally down into one agreement. And then basically it's one package that take it down one at a time, should like to come and say, again, say you got to staff some time in doing it. They will solve one for one, check box if I want the problem for the community center or whatever. And then just, you know, go over them, check off the requirements for each one. As opposed to having, you know, multiple forms and multiple background sheets, just have everything in one. Because we don't have that in the facilities. So it just might be this easier to do much.
Definitely something to review and look at.
Councilor Robinson.
I'm just wondering, with ball down, if you have a team, it would be a different kind of agreement.
But sometimes, oh, sorry, if I may through the mayor, sometimes a team just may want to practice that's not part of like the Lake Association. Yeah,
I know.
They just want extra practice, and I'm thinking too, down the road, you know, whatever we do at Snowdrift, there should also be included in there, whether it was, like, let's say, horseshoe pits, or, you know, renting the hall for X or that. Plus too, I think, as a taxpayer, or somebody looking at our website, and you say, oh, look at all the stuff that North Algona has, right? You know, they, it's over here, you can go there, they have this, they have that.
That's a really good suggestion, because I believe once we hopefully take over the ownership of Snowdrift, we'll have to expand our amenity booking form or sheet or. So can I just assume that you're taking minutes on some of these suggestions, and we will have to incorporate it into the draft tonight?
No, both the Laura and I, the deputy clerk and I are taking notes, and we'll say that. As amendments, so.
Any other comments on this one? Seeing none, then we'll go to the rental terms and conditions.
Now, one thing we'll change, under use, we have, there shall be no camping, tenting, or other accommodations on township park property. We're going to remove park and just, so it's more generalized, it would apply to all our township property then.
Yeah, good idea.
A further suggestion, change it up from property to properties, plural.
Yeah.
The form will be available electronically, that somebody can fill it out online, and
No. It won't be online billable, but we can have it printable
okay.
in a PDF.
We can do that.
Councillor Wright.
Just if we're being consistent, like Councilor Buckhold said, even where it says no alcohol is permitted in the public area, just on any township properties.
That's probably percent edit from our copy. They can have this other copy, just kind of.
Councillor Robinson.
I'm just thinking whether or not we need to have something.
They have to be here for all of our law.
Yeah. Because sometimes I just want to have parties and. I mean, it's things like that, so we need to be aware of it.
Councillor Buckland.
Actually, that might be something to consider putting limitation on times. That would be the part that the games pass, you know, is only good until 10 o'clock at night. Because if you look at the facilities that we have here, none of them are really use. I don't actually really want to work to.
They already know it's something more,
Yeah, but realistically,
but you need to sometimes.
there should probably be silent on most of the use, because again, basketball court doesn't have lighting, volleyball doesn't have lighting. Right, I'm assuming that if you're gonna be lighting in the addition,
Big tower there, so.
But it's turned off,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
so that again, if they would say that maybe 10 o'clock,
It's a good idea, yes.
that then we don't have to worry about them asking us to power off for things.
10 p.m.
Yeah, I think so.
I know that's like what the roadside parks are and Township parks, so it's easy for everybody to remember.
Councillor Buckland.
So actually, just I thought here, because the question was raised about people renting a cottage, like one of some facilities. So someone renting a cottage, would they want to use the. That's where I think everyone would want to form it, would just be added as a checker. As opposed to filling a separate agreement. It just seems silly to do multiple agreements. On group, so if somebody to incorporate. Yeah, down the road into one, I think that might be a little easier.
Councillor Robinson.
On to deposit, if there are only two options, check or cash. We have other options. That's the other one.
It's just that, we have a derivative machine, but they have to return the money. This is an easier way of not having to. If it's, if it's just check or cash, you can send it back.
I see.
Rather than having to process all the electronic stuff, reverse.
But it's just like a caution fee thing.
Yeah.
Councillor Buckland.
I'm just wondering if consideration of council. Do we really need a security policy? Is it, especially when we're looking at the amount, but it's exactly more of an. Realistically, it's something. Like expansion, the model with the next $20 is going to resolve it. So is it really worth having that fee? Same thing in barbecue's locked up. Because we're not providing utensils, they've got to bring everything in their own. is there a point to having a deposit? Not now. Because I can tell you what, somebody that rents a place like that's a volleyball court. Or a basketball court, and they have something happens, they drop a beer bottle with an awesome family, soft drink bottle. Right, last year, we have to go send staff to sit in the sand and clean it all up. They're not gonna care about $12. So they're not gonna be a deterrent for anything like that. So when they're worth, asking for us to follow the event. Again, I'm just using those two, like the course as an example, that if less than 8 days, you how they want it on cost. I can see it maybe for the barbecue, just because of potentially the cost of replacing a key and a lock. But for the others, it's worth having a deposit.
It is, I guess, part of making sure that they're serious about the commitment to rent. That's the only, you're right, it's certainly the deposit doesn't cover the damage, and it's written in the agreement that if there is any significant damage, they're responsible to cover the repairs or the restitution costs.
I think that in actuality, I think that if you make it a standard deposit of $50 across everything, it's pretty simple. And that way also, if you do a deposit and you do it on debit and put it back, then it's about $20 is more nuisance. $50, most places, if you go anywhere to rent something, it's a minimum $90 deposit.
What if any deposits we have to work in?
What's that?
What are our deposits?
$20.
I would say keep everything, whatever number we set, whether we change it, change it, let's keep deposit one, recreational stuff.
That's right.
Now, the reason we went with the cheaper lending hub fee was simply because we thought if there was a family in need or something like that, the $20 is doable, right? You know, I agree with Councillor Robinson though, like, I mean, the seriousness of if something broke, so that's to me like moving it from 20 to 50. And remember, if everything's okay to get it back. I do also realize that it is more work for office staff, and perhaps what we do is we say it's at 50, and like a year from now we revisit it to see if perhaps how cumbersome it was for the office, how much time it was, and if we did have any charities. You know?
Michelle.
And you could also monitor use. If you feel that can be a positive deterrent, what using it or what feedback we get.
That's about
I can see with barbecue, again, that's something that, again, it's control of it. But to me, the volleyball and basketball courts, they're there and can be used. Right, it's organized event. I don't know, I just, it just doesn't seem to have value for the municipality coming in and just seeing that a hoop that the public have to jump through to use something that they can use anytime.
Yeah, I think yes, is take the deposit off. Still have to register because we need to know who's using it, but we don't need to have a deposit for the volleyball court. That's all.
if they're booking the volleyball court, are we supplying the net or are they bringing their own net and balls?
The net and back outside the park,
Oh,
but
okay.
they would have to bring the bubble.
Put that in there.
It is. It is.
Okay. I'm sure I saw it.
So you want to book it for the weekend, for a day or for the weekend?
Sorry.
You want to book it for a day, for the weekend?
They could, yes. So, and just one other point, so if it's just gonna be an informal event for friends, let's say for a friend, the rental agreement or the agreement doesn't be required, but if you were having a tournament, then the rental agreement is required.
That's wrong.
So if you're having a tournament, Are we charging $25?
Not the way the agreement structured.
That's why I asked the question. Because if it's a tournament, because most municipalities, if the facilities are being used for things like a tournament or anything like that, it's more than, just a walk-in. So that's to me, it's a different.
So like I said, so if four friends wanted to play on the volleyball court, they're most welcome to do that, but if, the event that's referring from now over a couple weekends or more players, then the rental agreement would be.
Councillor.
I think somewhere in brackets, you should make that like more specific, like if you're having a tournament, you'll need a rental agreement if it's recurring. Just so if people read it, then they know exactly, and then that'll be less questions perhaps for the office.
Yes, Laura.
That is pretty well stated in the booking information. They did a nice little chart where it says you must sign an agreement. And then when it comes to the volleyball court, if it's a formal scheduled gathering that either takes place for longer than 2 hours, is recurring, or has 9 or more people in attendance, that's the only time you'll need to do an agreement. And the same with the basketball court. And that is basically, so if these people want to use it for this amount of time and some of the public come, they can say, we have an agreement for this many hours, and then it's yours afterwards. And that they know they only have it, that amenity for that time, and if the public comes along afterwards, then they must leave and let the public use it. It's mainly to keep it open to the public so that, they're not being turned away.
I certainly think it's worth trying it and, like you say, revisiting again in a year and see how things are working and whether we need to make any changes. Anything else on rental terms and conditions? And the final one is the draft usage agreement.
And this agreement is structured similar to the amended one, and that agreement was reviewed by solicitors.
I do like Councillor Buckwald's suggestion of moving forward, like amenities used, you could put volleyball court, basketball court, barbecue, so it's just a matter of ticking off the box.
Actually, in there, you could actually do that and then deposit.
Yeah.
Or deposit received, right? And I don't know that the form has, like I said, date of use and time. I'm assuming that's the time frame that we use, like 8 to 12, 12 to 4, that type of thing. Okay.
When they do the usage agreement, I notice it does ask for a driver's license number. Do you actually have to, do they have to provide their driver's license so they can verify that it's an accurate number?
We do ask for it, so.
Okay,
Good. Just maybe you should do it instead of driver's license, identification check. Verification check. Because if someone didn't have a driver's license, they wants to look at.
right.
I did have one other question, you know, on this time. About the barbecue, does the health center have any requirements we have to follow since people are using that for cooking and putting their food right on the surface? Do we have requirements for either cleaning between uses or hand washing facilities? If we are allowed them to use our facilities.
Contact the health unit. With them. We did have a prevention officer. But we can definitely.
I think as long as if somebody's cooking and it's their own family gathering, if they're cooking and selling, then it would definitely have to be inspected.
Which again, if you got a tournament,
Yeah,
right, there's usually one change hands for food, so. And again, it becomes their responsibility. I just want to make sure that as the provider of any equipment that we're, you know, have the responsibilities.
that's wrong.
I'm still hung up on the dollar value. If there, it says here that if there's more than, like, this tournament, for example, is there a grade where we're gonna be charging? Because there's nothing in the data. What is that rental amount? It's not, it's to go on the website. Ascertain.
I don't know what it says for a ballpark, for the ballpark. I don't know if it wouldn't be a big tournament if they're using the volleyball court because there's only one.
And
I think
one net
picture, it's like,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Because there's nothing there.
Well, maybe what we could do is wait to see if down the road we are having tournaments, right? Because maybe we're making more work than we need to make. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just thinking that even if we had something,
It could even be saying something like a donation to a rec committee or something like that, maybe not. But I mean, like, both Township Wilberforce said, like, I mean, it's one court and one basketball court and one volleyball court. I mean, you could do something for sure, but it would be like a long big, if you had like 16 or 8 teams, 4 teams maybe. And then to me too, it's still getting publicity for our area and stuff like that. You know, as opposed to renting out Snowdrifters Hall or, you know, Golden Lake Hall or something like that.
but what I was saying is that it begs the question, something should be written in so that you're not falling here to find it. That's all I'm saying. It should be clear.
And what would you like it to say?
Well, if there's gonna be, if people are gonna ask, is there a cost for it? You know that they're gonna call and ask that. If there's no cost, then put that there's no cost. Or that there's a donation, so that they're not calling the office to find out, you know, is there a cost or is there? Especially if there's more than 9 people involved.
That's what I call.
Which also leads to the question, do we have different ways for this? The non-resident organization wants to come in. Pretty unlikely that it's gonna happen again because it's. From my perspective, these are all order the basketball courts needed. Yeah, it's available any time, so I don't foresee any cost to that. Especially because realistically, it's gonna be a tournament at most division, probably all time. So they're gonna be already responsible. The matter of on. You know, there's pretty much that anybody can all of our court good tools on the blocks. Where we control more likely to be used. But I personally also need to charge a fee for basketball court or volleyball courts. It's fine to say.
So on the first form, then we would just put as far as rental fee 0 for basketball and volleyball, and I think maybe just make a note to review it in a year. If we see it being a problem, we can make changes.
Or 0 rental fee for residents. Might be a good way to put it.
I think just,
Or
I think just 0 for this year, and let's see what evolves.
And maybe as a note, when, if people do rent it, just remember, are they residents or not? Just an information thing, so whenever we did review it, we'd say, yeah, it's all, and I know myself, I would, if I was in this township, and I knew if the residential would be free for somebody in it, I'd look for somebody to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Councilor Burke.
Could we add in there that a donation for the recreation?
Maybe we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
There may be very well nobody that rent.
Yeah.
Dave Dodson, he's a pretty good keener with volleyball, he might try to do some, because I know he does down in Douglas, but Douglas has, I think, 4 volleyball.
Yeah.
And like to me, it's about using our facilities and encouraging participation and showcasing what we have, so,
If we can get people out there, yeah, I'm not too concerned.
no.
So, again, the deposit, I'm okay if you want to do the deposit, and it's not a huge deal today. Just, and this is the for it myself. And rental fees, I don't think we should be charging to our residents. Again, we were providing the propane, the barbecue, but I hope.
I still like the fee, but I go from 20 to 50, I mean, they're gonna get it back. if it is. I mean, the whole idea is when you went to university and you rented out a room, right? There's that and it kept you a little more honest in that you didn't wanna do something crazy, so they took it away after so long. You don't want people hanging from the nets, so it's blah. So this way it could be, hey, I want my money back, so don't be, well. And the new logo looks nice on our stuff and.
So I think we've covered it.
I think we're good. Now, we do have some rules regarding the barbecue. In the agreement.
Yes.
And then so no rental fee for the volleyball courts, basketball courts, so the leases of pavilion with barbecue. And the deposit will be $40 for the barbecue and 20 for the volleyball courts and the basketball courts.
I thought we'd increase that.
That's why I'm
Fifty was already
that for each.
And if they ask why you're asking cash or check, just say, because it's much easier to give it back to you, like, I would have thought 2 e-transfer or something, but I mean, your logic is very sound, because I know at school, when they do school math, it's a pain in the Babinski when you have to return money, right? But if it's a check, it's so easy.
If you transfer, you just don't accept them, and they expire.
Yeah. We don't accept the, we're not able to accept the transfers at municipalities, so.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, and sometimes just people have to know why, and that's good mechanism.
Councilor Barlow.
Michelle, user agreement, number 8, where we talk about the fee for the barbecue. Can we maybe put in a statement there that specifically says the council does not provide propane? We require bringing all propane. Because the only place it really addresses it is in the safety section that they'll disconnect their propane tank. It doesn't have to say we won't provide it. But if they don't really get covered, they just think it will need it ready for them.
Yeah.
Okay, and you type that on which form again?
Usage agreement,
The user agreement,
number 8.
It's just, that's where it talks about food at the barbecue.
Oh, okay.
So again, we don't provide propane for utensils.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I know in the cottage, there's
There, okay.
because the cottage does have pots and pans and stuff, right? So if somebody's rented that, they might think they got the same thing outside. Just to clarify that.
You can add that.
And hopefully we don't have to put anything in there that, the garbage has to be put into the garbage containers and,
Well, it might be nice to put it somewhere that,
We
please ensure you leave the
we do,
yeah,
place where it is.
So on booking information, it says that, the owner's responsibility tied to the public area,
Oh.
including removal, garbage.
all perfect. I think, are you clear with everything that,
We are at Saturday notes.
okay? So I have a motion, 5.1, the council accepts the draft municipal amenity booking information, the draft rental terms and conditions, and the draft usage agreement as presented, and direct staff to make amendments as discussed. Mover and seconder, moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Burns.
It was going to say as amended.
It does, direct staff to make amendments as discussed.
Oh, there, sorry.
I know, I was looking through all these books at once.
The thing is, I can't, if it's at a certain line, I don't see. certain lines. It's so, yeah, because it's.
Right on the edge.
It's right on the edge. Sorry, and isn't this survey?
Call the question, Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Burr,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richard Buckwell.
Yes,
And yes, that's carried. Okay. We don't have a closed meeting, so number 8 is the burning bylaw. I have a motion that bylaw 2022-42 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for July 12, 2022 be read a first and second time this 12th day of July 2022. Can I have a second, moved by Councilor Richard Schoenfeld, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richard Schoenfeld.
yes,
Yes, well, and this is read a third time and finally passed this 12th day of July 2022. Number 9 is adjournments. I have a motion that this July 12th, 2022 special council meeting adjourned at 7:39 p.m. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Buckwell. Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richard.
yes.
And yes, that's carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.